Okay, so for the people that missed this, it's going to be on 805 Academy. That's not you because you're here, or if you want to watch it again, this will be on 805 Academy. This will be one of the shortest trainings we ever do. Now you see I do a lot of the videos on 805 Academy. They're 2 and 3 minute videos. It'll be a little bit longer than that. There's going to be a short training, but don't underestimate how important this is. In fact, the walkthrough is incredibly important. In fact, to give you an idea, I've done probably 2,500 sales through my career when we were selling, and I can count probably on one hand, maybe not even that, other agents that did walkthroughs that they conducted that were really good. Almost never do they. There's never a plan, there's never a system. It's always they just kind of show up and what am I supposed to do? Let's sign the VP, is there anything on there? And they have no real plan. And so this is going to tell you, show you exactly a plan of how to go through it. And so first of all, the question is, who attends the walkthrough? Okay, I like, first of all, regardless whether I'm the seller's agent or the buyer's agent, I want to be at the walkthrough. Okay, not only do I want to be at the walkthrough, I'm going to take control of the walkthrough to some degree. Now, when you're the buyer, it's really your job to be control. But when you're the seller, I'll show you how we kind of take control in kind of a passive manner. Okay, because understand that most other agents are not going to put into the planning into doing a great walkthrough. So if you do, you basically end up conducting it, and you'll see that why it's so important in just a minute. So again, let's talk about just the benefits of a great walkthrough. Okay, number one benefit is that all the details of the final closing is all put together and brought together and discussed between the seller, the buyer, and both agents. It's kind of like your final powwow together to make sure that you have a really smooth closing. Now, it's now 10 minutes to 11. Less than an hour ago, I was on the phone with an agent on our team, and there was an issue with the final walkthrough because they had a confusion to where the mailbox keys are going to be and the house keys and things like that, and there became confusion. And so you kind of see that this happens all the time, to where I get problems later, not all the times, but occasionally, to where if had the walkthrough been done properly, we could have turned in a negative thing into a positive thing. So this is very, very important. So another benefit of doing this, in addition to getting all the details together and everyone on the same page, is that, believe it or not, I never thought that this was a benefit. This just became a byproduct of doing a good open house or a good walkthrough, is that the other clients, let's say you represent the seller, okay, you're the seller's agent, and the buyer sees what a good job you do. Down the road, a few years down the road, they give you a call back and you're their agent. You get to demonstrate to them, okay, that you're really the best agent there, okay, and sometimes you get to, also let them know that you probably have the most knowledge there. And here's the key to getting referral business. I've always thought two things: offering incredible service, okay, and having a lot of knowledge in the business. So if you're smart, not arrogant, just smart in the business, they'll find out. You don't have to be boastful about it. And then the other thing is you have this incredible service. And we all go out there and we're trying to prospect and get clients in so many ways, but the low-hanging fruit in our industry is with the clients that we're working with to do an incredible job as far as service and be very knowledgeable in the business. And if you do those two things, then you're going to be surprised how many referral clients you get. So again, kind of hitting on this again, obviously the advantage, the benefit is you coordinate everything. The other thing is your client's going to want to use you again, and believe it or not, the other client's going to use you again. And then you're going to get a lot of respect from the other agent as well. And by the way, one of the things that is kind of a little sidebar here, but we always treated agents, appraisers, lenders, escrow, title people, we always treated them with the greatest respect. And it's amazing how many referrals we got through the years from those people. Not necessarily the ones that we would, use. Of course we get referrals from them, but ones that just saw how we conducted ourselves and conducted business. And a lot of our business became other real estate agents. Agents that would literally be in the business now, but a couple of years later they're not, and they either have a referral for you or they need to use a realtor to either sell or buy, and guess what? You get the call. So this gives you that ability to do that. Again, the most important thing we want to do a good walkthrough for is for the benefit of our seller or our buyer, But again, there's a lot of byproducts that come from it. Okay, so next thing I want to talk about is preparing the walkthrough. So I've kind of got a quote here. A great client experience is 75% preparation and 75% execution. Okay, now if you're a math wizard, you'll probably figure out that, wait a minute, that's 150%, and it can only be 100%, right? You're figuring that out. But whether it's 50-50 or 75-75, it doesn't matter. We need to make sure that we prepare, and then we need to make sure that we execute, okay? And if you do those two things, then you're gonna be really amazed. Now, everybody here knows, everybody in our team knows how excited I am about videos and how videos can really tell a story. They don't take the place of personal contact, texts, emails, phone calls, things like that, but they are a great thing in addition to. And so one of the videos that we have that we think everybody should do during the transaction, is about 10 total ones, would be the one on the open house. And let me give you an example of one that Michelle did. This is about 5 years ago. The video quality is better these days. You can script it any way you want, although I got scripts for you. But this kind of basically gets sent to your client, whether they are the seller or the buyer, just before a day or two before the walkthrough.
Hey, just wanted to let you know what to expect in our upcoming walkthrough appointment. First, we want to get back into the house and check and see that the repairs we made have been done. If you are buying the house as is, or you took a credit in lieu of repairs, we still want to make certain that the house is in substantially the same condition as when you decided to purchase it. Also, this will be an opportunity for you to meet with the sellers of the home and go over any of the systems that you need to learn to operate, such as the sprinkler system or the security system. Also, we'll go over just a lot of the other details about the home, make certain that we know where the garage door openers are, HOA keys, when trash pickup day, just a long list of things that we just want to make certain that you understand where it is, where to find it, what to expect. And then finally, we will discuss dates, when your utilities should be transferred from the seller's name into yours, as well as make certain we've nailed down when our close of escrow is going to be, how we're going to get the keys to the house, and finally, when you'll finally get to take possession of your new home. Looking forward to this being a really smooth transition for you, and don't forget, I'm never too busy for any of your referrals.
So that's the video I like to send out before the walkthrough, and that kind of sets up what their expectations are. By the way, most walkthroughs last about an hour, some less, some longer. How many times does your buyer actually go into the property and they have no clue about all the systems of the property? I mean, they've really never met with anybody, and now they got to figure them out. So again, that's the time that we do that. A lot of the work that we do for this open, or for the walkthrough, I keep wanting to call it open house, for the walkthrough, is done before we show up at this walkthrough. That's the preparation part. So we have everything down, and we've got the seller ready to demonstrate to the buyer how things work, if we can, if we represent the buyer, or if the seller, I like them to be there for that as well, okay? So the next thing that we do, if we represent the seller, is we send a ready to move letter. Now, Chris and Jen, our escrow coordinators, have this letter already, and they can send it out. It's on our checklist. And what the letter basically states is, now this is only when we represent the seller, okay? When we represent the buyer, we can't send this to the sellers. We have to rely on their agent to do that. But this is when we represent a seller, this goes out. And it basically just says, this isn't the whole letter, but this is the bulk of the letter, okay, the guts to it. Congratulations, it's time to start packing and preparing to move. It's also time to think about feathering the nest for the buyer, okay? Just so you know, you don't have to wash windows, scrub walls, or shampoo carpets. What is customary is for the property to be in broom clean. This means all the floors to be vacuumed or mopped, bathrooms to be clean, kitchens to be clean, including all appliances, cupboards and shelves to be wiped off, all debris removed from inside and outside the property, landscape to be maintained in the same condition it was when the offer was written. Remember, and when we look at condition of property, paragraph 11 in the contract, it states that the property must be in the same condition as when what? As when the offer was accepted, okay? And of course, that doesn't mean with furniture in it, but that means clean as well. The garage to be free of debris and swept, and leave all the manuals, garage door openers, keys, and etc. in a kitchen drawer. So, and then here's the little touch I like to do at the end, and this is I like to recommend to our sellers that, hey, we found a bottle of Martinelli's candy or some flowers or a note congratulating goes a long way towards making the buyers feel good about moving into the new home. Please consider leaving something like this for the buyers. Now, it's not really appropriate if you represent the seller to leave something for the buyer, okay, because they're not really your client. That would be, in my opinion, inappropriate. However, it's okay for your sellers to do that with a little note. And guess what? That's a reflection on you, isn't it? It's just a reflection on you. So that's very important. So this letter goes out, if you use Chris or Jen as the escrow coordination, to our sellers, usually about 5 days before the walkthrough. Walkthrough generally done roughly 5 days before the close of escrow, okay, and about 5 days before that, we'd send out this letter, okay. Now here's a checklist, okay. This is a checklist of just things that we want to do to prepare for the walkthrough. So in other words, I've always said in real estate that if you have systems, it's so much easier to do things. You know, it's the old idea that my mind is reserved for things I can't find somewhere else. So I'm not going to try to memorize all the things I would do, you know, prepare for a walkthrough. I just want a checklist, okay, so I can just do it. And this is the checklist that we have. By the way, everything we have today is on share drive, okay? And if somebody's watching this from Aviara, we'll be happy to send the disc with everything we have for our contents here, including our PowerPoint presentation I have right here with the notes on it as well. But this is our first sheet we start off with, okay? We want a copy of the sheet for the walkthrough sheet for the buyers and sellers. That, in other words, this little information sheet we're gonna put together, we make that for everybody. A copy of any repair requests if we have to check those. Third-party inspection, because you wanna have that there in case you need to refer to it. Copy of any work receipts, copy of termite inspections, key to getting the property, home protection plan information, trash instruction brochure, copy of permits if that's something we have. Usually we don't deal with that, but sometimes. And then the office file that you have online, make a little disk of it and take your computer. So if you have to pull something up there, you can, okay? And obviously we did the verification of property condition form to complete that, okay? This is our checklist, okay? Now, the next thing is kind of our walkthrough detail sheet. This is a sheet that we put together and we have on the share drive, which is just a fillable form. All you have to do is fill in the blanks, okay? And then all of a sudden you have this sheet. It's more to it than just this, but this is what's on here. So it'll say the close of escrow will be what the date is, when the possession is, exactly to the hour. Utility company should be contacted on which date. And then below on this form, we have all the utility numbers for them, okay? The key to the front door, either it's going to be left in the electrical panel or we're going to deliver it. Whatever it is, we're all going to be in the same track of what's going to happen. We're going to coordinate this like a big event. I saw a YouTube video the other day on preparation for the Super Bowl, okay? It was amazing all the things that they had to do. And things were down to the second of when they do things and how they do things. And yet we watch the Super Bowl or a big event, we think, oh, that's just, you know, whether it's the Super Bowl or Academy Awards, that was really great and it just went so well. Well, behind the scenes, there's amazing preparation that takes place. This is what we're doing. We're doing this preparation before we ever show up at this walkthrough. So we've got all the details, okay? So instruction booklets and garage door remotes, things like that. I always like to give them a local locksmith's number, and I like to tell them, the buyer, whether I represent the seller or the buyer, I highly recommend that you have the locks changed. Change over the locks if you can, because now it's not your responsibility to make sure they do it, but if you give them a locksmith who's in the area, I use Ray Oliver, I have for many years, I know a lot of us do too, doesn't matter who you use, it's just a matter of who you put somebody down that they can get somebody out there to change the locks. It's just a simple security thing. They also want to change the garage door opener code, things like that. You need to tell them when the trash day is. And then I also usually like to remind my seller, if it's my seller, make sure that the trash cans are emptied by the time the buyers come there. I know it's kind of tough, but that's really an expectation a buyer can have. And then give them the home protection plan brochure, let them know the numbers on here, who they can call in case of a claim. And then make sure they file their change of address with the post office. They can go online to do that at www.changepostaladress.com. They can literally do it online, and that makes sure that all of their mail gets forwarded for a year, okay? And then it's nice to have the seller's new address if you can, just in case something slips through, and phone number. If that becomes uncomfortable for you, for the seller, they don't want to hand that, that's okay. It's really their benefit, not your buyer's benefit. Your buyer's not going to call them most likely for things because we've gone over all the systems of the house, but if something is left for them or a package comes for them, that at least they know how to get it to them, okay? And then ask them where's the mailbox, where's the mailbox keys, if you have keys for it, and what is the approximate time of the mail delivery. You know, just ask them approximately, okay? Those things are really nice to know. Now, there might be other things on here as well. If you have pool and spa equipment, you have different things like that. All the systems that we can have at home today, security systems, cameras, things like that. But you just need to have all the passwords, everything that there is on a system to a home. Just understand, if you were moving in that home and you were the buyer, everything you would need to have is what that buyer needs to have. And they should have it when you do the walkthrough long before the escrow closes, or at least 5 days before on average, okay? There's another thing that I like to kind of point out here. So that gives you a good idea. Now when this walkthrough is done, everything is coordinated. Everything is coordinated between buyer and seller and both agents. Everyone has the expectations set up. And it's amazing how buyers and sellers really end up liking each other when things are coordinated well, and how they don't when they're not coordinated well, okay? The issue that we had on the team early this morning was buyer and seller are very happy with each other because there wasn't some coordination done that could have easily been done, okay? So that coordination makes it. I call the walkthrough inspection sticking the landing. And let me tell you why I use that comparison. If you watch, Olympics are coming up in a couple months here, okay? And when you're watching the gymnastics, always one of my favorite things to watch is the gymnastics, especially the women's because we're so good, right? And when they're jumping over the horse or they're doing the vault or something like that, the last thing that they do is they're dismount, and it's called they want to stick the landing, okay? And the reason they want to stick the landing is because that's that very last thing the judges see. So even though whether they're on the, on the floor or they're on the bar or they're on uneven bars, the horse, it doesn't matter. That's the last thing the judges see is the dismount, and technically it's the same grading as everything else, but we all know it's graded higher than anything else. And I can tell you, regardless of how good your escrow was all the way through, okay, this will be the thing they rate the very highest, is this very end part, okay? That's from the walkthrough all the way through possession and a couple days after. Now, a couple things I'm going to talk about. This is kind of post walkthrough, and it's not really the walkthrough, it's kind of the final stages of closing that I want to talk about. And one is, I like to give them, and we have this form on the share drive there, it's called important dates, okay? It's called important dates, and you can kind of see what this is. You really don't get this, and I have no idea why escrows don't provide this or most agents don't provide this, but imagine a buyer when they move in the home. They have really no idea when their first tax payments due. They have no idea when their first mortgage payments due. They have no idea when their first homeowner association is due. However, we have this sheet. It's a fillable form. All you have to do is just fill in the dates. And if anyone needs help with this, once you get the closing statement, I can show you when everything's going to be, the next payment's going to be due, because interest is paid in the rears, right? Okay. Association dues are paid forward. Here's a good question. Are property taxes paid in the rears or forwards? How many people here think it's in the rears?
Yes and no.
How many people think it's in the forwards? Okay, you're both wrong. I mean, you're both wrong. You're all wrong, and you're both right, and everyone's right too. And let me tell you why, because property taxes, and we're gonna do a class on property taxes in about a month, and so we'll go over all this, but property taxes, the first installment is actually due, okay, November 1st, delinquent December 10th, and so you're paying during that time back to June 30th and all the way up through December 31st. Then you pay your next payment February 1st, due April 10th, okay? You're paying in the rears for 2 months and the forwards for 4 months. So it's kind of a mix of the two. But back to what's more important, and that's this important dates, that your buyer has this important dates. Now, if you represent the seller, this is not your job to do, and you'd be overstepping your bounds to complete this for the buyer. And you really won't know because, as you know, you get the closing statement for your client. So unless you represent both the seller and the buyer, you're not going to get the buyer's closing statement, a copy of it. The only person who's going to get that is the buyer's agent and the buyer, okay? But this will tell them when everything is due, and they can expect when their next payment. Now, if their taxes are impounded, then you don't have to worry about that. If they're not impounded, then on here we're going to indicate when the next payment is due. So again, just a nice thing to do given this important dates thing. One more thing that you can do. Obviously, I think it's great to give your clients closing gifts at the close. I think it's really a nice touch. When we talk about closing gifts, I think the best closing gift you can give is something that's personal. Angie talked about that in last week's training about how to create an incredible buyer experience. So I'm not going to kind of go over that, but if you can make it personal, that's really good. Also, I think a really great thing to do on moving day is to get some pizzas delivered to your people. Pizzas are cheap. I mean, for 30 or 40 bucks, you can deliver 2 or 3 pizzas to them. And why they're doing that, and they'll really appreciate that because they're doing moving and everything, and who thinks about food that day? So what do? They usually have somebody run down and get fast food. But if you say, listen, I'd like to, you're moving this day, what time would be good to have some pizza delivered or something like that, and then get some pizza, maybe some drinks delivered. It's a really nice touch. And I can tell you, clients will always appreciate the touches that you do far more than any commission you might discount. Commissions discounted are simply part of the deal. Either a gift or a food at the end or something like that is always something that's over and above because you didn't have to do that. That wasn't part of the transaction. So just some of the things I like to do for the walkthrough and that last part. Don't forget, stick the landing. You'll be surprised how happy your client's going to be, how often you're going to get referrals from it. And again, it's the last thing that they see.